Hi, I am making this video for my YouTube channel to help teachers who are teaching remotely, which is quite a few of us now, especially teachers that have a lot of ELL students, English language learners students, which I do in my class have quite a few. And I have found some tools online that I think would be helpful, and I just wanted to quickly run through what some of them are. I've made some Screencastify videos on how to use them on this channel, but this one I just kind of want to verbally talk through some of the tools and explain how they can be used and how they're the most helpful and how I've used them in my own class. So the first one is Screencastify, which I've already used a lot. And it is a tool that allows you to record whatever's on your screen. You record audio while it's taping what's on your screen, which is really helpful if you're trying to walk through students through an assignment or the structure of an essay. I did that with my kids for a research paper. I could stop and highlight and show them where I did my citations. It's really helpful too if you like normally verbally go over vocab words and stuff with your kids, giving context and examples, which I always do. So now I make slides of my words like I normally would with the definitions, but now I can screencastify them and make recordings where I talk through and the students can hear the examples and the context and the connotations that I would normally give them. The thing about Screencastify that's great is it links to YouTube, it links to Classroom, which makes it very user-friendly, but you only get 5 minutes of video on the free Screencastify. If you pay for a year subscription, which is $49, which isn't terrible. I probably will subscribe because I think I'll use it a lot more even when we go back to school now that I've discovered it. But if you pay for that, then you get unlimited time on your video. So my poor students right now, because I still haven't paid for it, are suffering through little 5-minute clips of me talking really fast or making multiple videos, depending on what the assignment is, because I can't get it all done in 5 minutes. So that's a big one. There are others out there. There's one called Screen Recorder. There's one called Loom. Loom does not have limited time, but it doesn't have that great like direct link to Classroom and the direct link to YouTube, which it's not the end of the world to have to do those extra steps, but the convenience sometimes is kind of nice to have available because I've managed to put up videos from there onto YouTube, my YouTube channel, and onto my Classroom, which is really handy. And it's only been like a 2-step process as opposed to an 8-step process. So those are pretty great. And in the same realm of doing things electronically and online, we also have, of course, Zoom and Google Meet Hangouts, which are great ways to interact with your colleagues, of course. It certainly helps with social distancing to be able to see people and kind of talk to them through something like that. But what's really nice is that Zoom is giving teacher accounts unlimited time, which normally you would have to pay for. Usually it's 40 minutes and then you get cut off and have to start a whole new Zoom. But if you log in through your teacher account, then you can have unlimited time and you can set up Zooms with your students to do some online assistance and help, and you can invite, all the students in your class, or you can say whoever wants to come can come. But the nice thing about Zoom is you can give it an ID number for the meeting. There's a passcode to get in, and then you can set up a waiting room where you let participants in, and that way strange hackers can't pop in and act crazy or do things that are inappropriate, especially like I have middle school students, so nobody wants that to happen. And that allows you to sort of control it. The nice thing about Zoom, too, is when you set up the meeting, you can then mute the participants, which we all wish that we could do, I'm sure, in real life. But you can mute them if they're talking over each other or somebody just keeps talking because they're so excited to finally be able to talk to people again. You can kind of mute them just for a little while and then let them talk again, or mute everybody and then unmute them one by one and, have them answer a question or share their thoughts or their concerns or whatever. So I haven't Zoomed with my classes yet. I'm doing that next week. But I have a lot of colleagues that have, and they've had really great success, and the kids are really kind of desperate for that interaction, so it's worked really well for them. So those are all of the ones that would be like camera enabled or, audio enabled in that way that would be helpful to give almost direct instruction. Zoom especially, you could actually like hold a class and give direct instruction, which is kind of nice. But there are some others that are really helpful or just fun, one of which is Kahoot. So my kids love Kahoot. And I used to do it to review vocab all the time to get ready for the quiz, and they were very competitive and they have a really good time playing it. And at first I was kind of bummed because I was like, oh, I can't play Kahoot because I'm at home and they have to be able to see the screen. Well, the nice thing is on Zoom, you can mirror your screen. So you could actually play Kahoot remotely with them. Everybody logs on to the Zoom meeting and you can mirror your screen so they can see, you know, what the teacher screen would be in Kahoot. If you've never played Kahoot or set up a Kahoot, it's a pretty fun tool to ask questions, and it's a competition where the words are on your screen, like the big screen, but on the kids' screens, it's just little symbols and colors. So it'll, you know, if you ask, what's the definition of cow, you know, and red, the diamond red says an animal that moves, you know, and the yellow square says an animal that meows. And so on their screen, there are no words, just the question. So they have to like look up and be like, okay, red, you know, and remember to click it. And so it becomes very heated. I've played Kahoot with my colleagues and I don't handle it well when I don't win, but the kids love it and they really get into it. It's a great way to review information. You can put 2 answers, you can put up to 4 answers, which is kind of nice. So you can make it crazy multiple choice or minimal multiple choice. So it's pretty cool. And when you can mirror your screen on Zoom, then you can actually show it to them like they would normally see it in the classroom. And then they're just playing from home and everybody goes to the same code for the game. And that's how they log in. And you can require them to use their real names. They can I let my kids make up usernames and I delete them if they're inappropriate because, you know, 12-year-olds. So I end up deleting quite a few. Then they finally settle down with something reasonably like acceptable and normal. But I'm excited because I'm going to play Kahoot next week for our vocab words. And it's just a nice way to come together. You know, they loved it in the classroom. It was really like a team, you know, sort of like activity, even though we were all competing with each other. Everybody was into it and involved and had a lot of fun. So it'll be nice to do that again. And since we'll be Zooming, they'll be able to like make the same commentary that they always make when they get all excited when they get them right or get them wrong and they get mad, or there's a lot of, oh, I clicked the wrong one because everybody's hurrying and trying to win. But it's definitely super fun. There's a free version of it that has limited, you know, things that you can do, but it's enough to have fun with the kids. And then the last few that I want to talk about are more sort of like full-on just educational. Can be fun, but are mostly designed to actually be just straight up educational. So first is Google Read and Write, which is an extension for Chrome. I just downloaded it today and started experimenting with it. If you choose to get Google Read and Write, which allows the students a lot of different access to able to like highlight words, to have things read aloud to them, which is fantastic. They are offering teachers right now a 30-day free premium of Read and Write. You have to, when you go into the Chrome store and select it, after you add it to your extensions, there's a link, a text help link that you have to copy and paste in a form you have to fill out about your school district with your email and all that information in order to be approved to then actually use it. But it was really neat because I tried it on a Google Slides presentation I had shared with my kids forever ago just to see what it did. And when you click on it to read aloud, it highlights each word as it reads it, so the kids visually are kind of seeing the words. And then there's a translate, which translates to Spanish, which for my district is extremely helpful. We have a very large Hispanic population, and those students in particular are really struggling without direct instruction and access to their ELL teachers regularly and the paras who've been working with them. So it's kind of nice because if you sent like a doc or you sent an assignment or you sent that to them, if they've got that extension in Chrome, then they can click on it and it will read it to them word by word. And then if they highlight something, it will translate it using the translate button right there into Spanish for them, which is fantastic. It also has the option for them to practice reading aloud, and it records them and then it plays it back so they can kind of be practicing and listening to themselves, which especially might be helpful if you have younger students who are working on actually like their skills for reading aloud. So that's totally free. The premium isn't free, but it's free for teachers for 30 days. But Read and Write itself is free, which is kind of nice. And then the last 3 are Quizlet, Padlet, and Flipgrid. So Quizlet I'm going to talk about separately. Padlet and Flipgrid I'm going to talk about together. So Quizlet is a great way to make online flashcards. I always had my students make flashcards on index cards for their vocab quizzes because everybody knows in education that flashcards are the way to learn anything, even though the children don't always believe that. And I was kind of like at a loss at first about how to do that because I get bonus points and it's a big part of the routine, and I wanted to keep as much of the routine as I could, even though obviously this is a completely new normal that we're exploring. And one of my colleagues uses Quizlet, and so she turned me onto that, and I was like, okay, I'll check it out. It's actually super user-friendly. In fact, the definition for the word will populate on Quizlet for the kids. And so I just have my kids, I did a video, a screencastify, where I walked them through signing up for it. The only issue is if they're under 13 and ask for their parent email. So they just have to put their parent email in because they're under 13, which hasn't been a big deal. No parent or student has said anything about having trouble with that. But they just put that in and they set up like a new set, they name it, and they just start adding. It has 2 blanks, the word and the definition, and they can just add a card and add a card and add a card. And then once they have a set, it actually will flip, they can flip through them virtually, which is kind of nice. And they can share the link with me so I can see that they made the set and they can still get their bonus points. So it's a win-win. And it's an easy, free, just app for them to use, Quizlet.com. So that's great. The last 2 are Padlet and Flipgrid, which I'm talking about them together because I'm using them for the same activity, and they kind of can go together depending on how you choose to use them. So one of the things that is great about Padlet is it's basically like a giant pad of paper that people can put sticky notes on if you've ever done a parking lot in your class or had kids do exit tickets on Post-it notes and then stick them up on the big paper. That's basically what this is, only electronic. So Padlet is super user-friendly. You create the Padlet as the teacher, and then you name it whatever you want to name it, and you can, like, I asked a question, so my students read the lady or the tiger, and my question is, was it the lady or was it the tiger? Because we're getting ready to start argumentative writing. So I'm requiring every student to answer on Padlet, and they have to answer with like a few sentences. They have to justify their choice. So they all pop up like little sticky notes and they have the name of the person who did it on them. And so that I'm requiring like completely. So it's a fun way to do, like, ask a question like I'm doing, or you could do an exit ticket that way for your class. You could certainly sort of like do, if you do question formation technique or question storm, depending on what you call it, you could use Padlet for that, which would be really cool. But I'm using that as sort of my like jumping off point for this argumentative writing unit that we're going to do. So every kid is going to do the Padlet question. And then Flipgrid, which is sort of the video version of Padlet, is where students can make short videos where they share their thoughts and their responses. And you can actually put them together by class. You can put them together by topic. You can put them together however you want to and make what's called a mixtape on Flipgrid. And Flipgrid is great. It's the same thing like Padlet. You create it and then you just send the link to the kids and they get on and they just add whatever they're adding. I am making the Flipgrid videos extra credit, which is why I'm making the Padlet required, because I want everybody to justify their argument in some way, but some kids just don't want to record themselves, they don't want to be online, they don't even want to hear their voice being recorded, because they could certainly like black themselves out or whatever, but it's pretty great. I've used Flipgrid a couple times for different activities, and the mixtape feature particularly makes things really nice, because I have all my students go to the same Flipgrid, but then I can organize them by all the people that said the lady, all the people that said the tiger, depending on, what you're asking them to do. And then make a mixtape, which they can then play. You can put it on Classroom, and they can play it and sort of listen to everybody else's response. When they go on Flipgrid to record their response, they can also see everybody else's videos as well. So you could make it where they have to respond to like 3 people or something like that as well, if you're doing some sort of debate or argument like I am. So those are just a few of the thousands of tools that are out there to make remote learning a little bit easier. A lot of us, of course, are adjusting to this for who knows how long. Some people are already out, I know, for the rest of the year. We're out right now until May 4th, but I don't hold out a lot of hope. But whatever makes life easier, I think is really important to use, and whatever allows the kids to kind of explore different things and feel invested and involved, but not overwhelmed, is really important. And I think all of these tools are good for educators and good for students, which is really important.